All right, cool. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So I am going to go ahead and present my screen. If I can bring the little three dots back. Wait, this button is what I want. Share, present now. My entire screen, because why not? Share. All right. Maxime and Tori, here we go.
I like how I could just see like three of myself.
Inception. All right. Can you still see the chat, Alicia? So if people start having tech problems, you'll be able to let me know.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We're going to go ahead and watch the video in full before we start breaking it down. And again, if anybody is having any tech issues, just mention in the chat and Alicia will let me know. All right, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and give us a hi in the chat if you've finished watching the video. And if you haven't had, sweet, thank you. And if you haven't gotten a chance to watch it, it's okay. We're about to get super duper nerdy with it. So first of all, are there any immediate questions off the top of your heads that you'd like Alicia and I to talk about? If not, no worries. We've got lots of stuff to talk about, but in case there are some burning questions in your soul that you need answered about this video, feel free to put in the chat right now while I start getting us ready. How are they so incredible? I say radioactive spiders.
That's a good answer.
There's another joke somewhere in my brain that's dance related that's not quite coming to the surface. Yeah, all right. Sharing a window. We're going to share my fancy schmancy shenanigans over here. All right, Alicia, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see Parker and Melissa.
All right, cool. If anyone else cannot see the Parker and Melissa, let us know in the chat. Alicia, can you see my cursor when I move it around?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. I once gave a lesson where it was really important to see the cursor, and it wasn't there. To say it was stressful is... All right, so the first section we were thinking about talking about, and yes, I am stepping through this frame by frame because magic. We wanted to talk about this anchor right here. That is so beautiful. So Alicia, you want to start us off and tell me where to go with the framing?
Yeah, so before we do that, somebody said, is this a normal West Coast swing song?
I'll let you take that one.
I would say so. I mean, it's 4/4 time, so in theory, you can dance anything 4/4 time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this feels more like a classic.
Allowed to answer, or are you two just the ones answering questions?
Oh, if you have an answer to that question, you're welcome to share.
It is a traditional song. It is not what is normally, it's not where the dance is now, but Maxime and Tori are working really hard to bring back elements of the dance that have fallen to the wayside as we've picked up elements from other dances, like hustle, like that one I won't say because I hate it, like lots of dances. So that's why a lot of people have a very visceral reaction to this. They either love it or they hate it. And I think it just depends on when you came into the dance, who you learned from, and what you enjoy in the dance.
Right. Yeah, no, that's very well spoken. And what I was going to say about this music choice is, while it's not like classic swing per se, like I come from a Lindy background, and I just love the rhythm of this music. And that's what I think brings so many people to West Coast swing, is that you can dance it to such a wide variety of music. and express yourself in different ways with different partners. And I love it when like Maxime and Tori dance to music like this, because it really highlights a lot of the technique in the dance that gets lost to straight time music, for instance.
Yeah, Parker and Melissa are also ones that will do more traditional songs.
Yeah, and that's why we picked the second video, if we have time to get to that tonight. So yeah, were there any other questions that popped up before we get started on this beautiful anchor right here? All right, cool. All right, so where do you want me to go with the frames as we talk about this anchor?
So I think like one of the main things that we were wanting to talk about was how their connection is staying basically in the same spot, even though they're doing more of a double resistance. And so if you watch, like Maxime's hand moves ever so slightly so that he can like rebound it, but mostly they're just keeping their hands the same. And Maxime, you can see, is like ever so slightly ahead of Tori when he comes into it.
Yeah, so if we watch really closely, so we start to be able to see the hands really well on this frame. And we can see where it is, where their hands are in relation to the screen. And they very much stay relative to that position. They move ever so slightly, but it's really satisfying. Like right through here, you can see how their hands stay in the same spot in relationship to the camera. And that's called center counterpoint, where the hands aren't traveling towards or away from either partner, but instead they're taking their bodies away.
Yes. And so one thing I want to say is they're kind of getting into this position because they're like Tori is matching like the connection that he's giving her. So that's what's creating such like a strong base, I guess.
Yeah, because you can see that like this distance between them grows at the same amount on either side of the connection.
Yeah.
As they're going into it. And then he leads it by then moving that center counterpoint. And you can see how it's now leaving the circle. And that's how he's actually leading her forward. And it's a body lead because he's generating that from his hips and his upper body to move that hand. He's not just pulling it with his arm. It's because his body is moving and then his arm is following through.
Yeah. He's also very behind his feet.
So if we were to draw, get all the lines going, we were to draw a line straight from his foot. Let's go from his foot. Wow, I did not hold shift first. Can you tell? One has to hold shift, then click, then drag, which on a laptop is very special. But you can see how much of his body mass is to the left of this line. And that's why his foot accelerates, and he actually twists to stay grounded on that foot. And he doesn't actually start shifting his weight to his left foot until later. It's a delayed weight transfer onto his left foot. I'll turn off bright yellow lines. Are there any questions, comments, concerns, jokes about this section right here before we move on to another one? anybody typing anything?
I don't see anything.
All right, cool. Just PSA for the peanut gallery. When I'm sharing my screen, everybody, I cannot see the chat. So that's why Alicia is the only one that knows what you're saying. I feel alone in my living room.
Okay, I don't see anything else. So
All right,
let's
cool.
move on.
Onward. All right, what section was this? She's just so pretty. I think I wanted to go here. All right. All right. So this is the part of their dance where Maxime's having a beautiful moment. He pays attention and catches Tori. But the really great thing that works so well with the lyrics of the song is that she comes up and then takes on her own body weight.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, where are they? There we go. So she takes on her own body weight so that he can leave her behind, and she sneaks her right foot behind for some extra stability.
Mm-hmm.
So she can maintain that position and create the illusion.
Yeah. But she's also like really counterbalanced over herself.
Yeah.
Like her knees are way further forward than where her head is.
Mm-hmm.
And her head is actually kind of back behind her feet. Even when she puts that foot back slightly, it's still like her head is back behind it.
Yeah, because you can almost, all right, shift, click, drag. There we go. It's creating this very planked illusion, even though she is perfectly counterbalanced and grounded in and of herself. All right. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about this section?
I don't think so, unless
right.
anyone has questions.
Anybody have questions about this section? It's a really fun moment. And you can see very distinctly when she takes over her own weight, because she's riding the momentum of him bringing her back up and letting it hold her at the peak and then stabilizing her before her body would come back down again.
So like as soon as they're coming up out of that little dip, she's controlling her own weight.
Yep.
Somebody says, how is she communicating to the lead when she's done playing? Cassie, do you want to talk about that?
Oh, so how, can you repeat the question?
How is she communicating to the lead when she's done playing?
Oh, interesting. Because I would say this isn't a moment of play. So does,
I agree.
Because this is very much a like, he left her in the lurch. But because they partner so well and they trust each other, like she knew he was going to come back.
Yeah.
And also the lyrics dictate that. But as for just in general, how a follow can communicate to a leader that they're done playing, it's creating a moment of connection. So usually it's change. So you need to create contrast from what you just did.
Right.
Or settle into the connection more and wait and make eye contact. Would you say the same thing?
Yeah, I would. There's also a couple other ways, depending on kind of where you're at. And like for me, I know that one of the things I'll do is I'll have my back to my lead. And then once I come around the corner, then I'm, back with them. But there's a couple other ways, but those are the main things.
Yeah.
Is that change.
Yeah. And I know it's really an interesting question as someone who both leads and follows, is I have led every level of follow, and it's the ones who actually maintain connection through their play that I prefer dancing with the most.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think of having like the phone line open, that's what connection is, so you can hear each other. When you're first learning how to play as a follow, it's really common to hang up the phone and play, and then pick the phone back up again when you're done playing.
Right.
Which is a perfectly valid tool, and we still use that at the higher levels of this dance.
Mm-hmm.
However, I prefer follows who keep the phone up to their ear the whole time.
Right.
Because then I can take something from that play and add to it. Kind of like that improv game, yes and.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want to do as partners in West Coast Swing. We want to yes and, yes
Yep.
and, yes
Yeah.
and add to it. So whoever asked that question, was that a good answer for you? Was that helpful? Hopefully they will let you know in the chat. While I juggle power wires. This is fun. Okay. Last thing we want is for me to suddenly die on everyone. Okay.
Unfortunate.
On so many levels. You'd miss all my bad jokes. Okay. All right.
Say, yeah, I think that was helpful. I, as a lead, sometimes have a hard time picking up when to continue leading a follow or to wait.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So as a leader, one of the things you can do, and this is also helpful in the context of partner stealing, it's the idea of, while, yes, your follow is kind of leading per se while they're playing, you want to kind of follow their movement as if you're leading what they're doing.
Right.
So it's kind of like that joke of like the follow just did something awesome and the leader's all like sarcastically, I totally led that. But that's really what's happening at the higher levels. It's that yes and. And so, and this is why it can be extra helpful to dance both roles, because you use follow skills when you're leading, especially in those moments of the follow playing. So what I do is I make sure to keep the phone up to my ear and offer a connection that counters what the follow's doing, because that's makes it so much easier to then respond organically once the play is over, because one of two things will happen. Either you'll be connected and you'll be able to lead whatever you want to next, or something will organically come out of it without you having to think about it too hard. And when I say countering, I'm talking about, oh, can I find the frame? The magical frame. So counter is when the leader is doing the equal and opposite of the follower. So she's moving away from the counterpoint. He's moving away from the counterpoint. Later, and I think this might actually be the next section we wanted to talk about. Nope. I'm skipping ahead one section, but it's okay. All right, was it here? Yes, this section. So when they go away, they're both going away. This is a great freeze frame of Maxime. It's so beautiful. Okay. And then when they both come towards, they're both coming towards. So when I say counter, as a leader, you're just doing the equal and opposite of your follow and providing a stable center counterpoint from which they can play. Right?
Yeah.
Where's this is that one. Maxime looks so beautiful. So hopefully that answered that question. Oh, trick question for the peanut gallery. In closed position, I'm going to jump over to the next video. In closed position, where is the center counterpoint? Offer your answers in the chat. I'll tell you the real answer. I'm just curious to know what people think.
He says hips.
Oh, interesting.
Lead. Elbow.
Bingo. So the center counterpoint in a closed position is the leader's elbow, because that's the point that can stay stable in space, like the hands, where you can move towards and away from it. Oh, back here. It can't be the hand, because the hand doesn't have something. The only thing that can move away from the hand on the follow's back is the leader. So that would necessitate the follow not moving at all. And it's not the leader's shoulder, because that would be just the opposite problem.
Right.
But the elbow can stay. Shift, click, drag. Yes, I'm getting better, people. Okay. The elbow can stay in the same point in space while both partners move toward and away that point. And that's why it's called a center counterpoint. All right. That might have blown some people's minds. Feel free to take a moment to pick your brains up off the floor. I know I needed to do that way back in the day. All right. So any more questions on that in the chat, or shall we move on to?
I don't see any right now. So.
All right, cool. So we wanted to talk about this section next, which is a really fun, classic,
Yes,
Lindy swivels that are so satisfying to watch and so satisfying to dance. And we wanted to talk about, in particular, the really interesting choice in hand position. So do you want to start with that?
Well, you can go ahead and start with his hand position.
Okay, cool. So you may or may not be able to see, because potato quality, but Maxime's hand is on top of Tori's as opposed to underneath. And what that allows him to do is to have the very distinct back and forth lead to the swivels. So his left hand is going to his right, and then it's going to his left in a very short vertically, but wide kind of figure eight motion. But without forcing her into an uncomfortable position.
Right.
Because imagine if nothing changed about Maxime's hand, but instead of Tori's hand being on the far side from the camera, it were on our side, and her thumb were pointed down. That would be really dangerous for her shoulder. All right, I need to stop sharing for a moment and admit the person who just tried to get in. All right, admit. All right, cool. Why it won't let me admit people while I'm sharing my screen, no one knows. Technology, man. Okay. Share. All right. Can you see my my shenanigans again?
Yes.
Cool. So like all follows have been in that position where a leader has twisted your arm from a standard follows hand on top, leader's hand on bottom, and where the leader goes to then twist their hand down to thumbs down, but that over rotates. Is it pronate? Is that the right word? Over pronates the follow's right shoulder and arm, and it can really damage a follow shoulder. Right. But having the leader's hand on top for this allows for that full range of motion safely on both their parts.
Because you can see like how much she's opening up. And it's because of that hand position and because he's able to rotate more.
Yeah, it's like if you were to try this at home and like stick a right hand thumbs up straight out in front of you and then open all the way to your right, that feels comfortable. But if you were to put your thumbs down in front of you and then turn your arm all the way out to the right, that's much harder on your shoulder. And it's dangerous. So leaders out there, please do not do that to your follows ever. I forbid it.
Yeah, so I think the other thing that I wanted to mention about this specifically is that even though they have that center counterpoint of their hands, Maxime is really like the center point of everything because she's moving around him.
Yep.
That circular motion.
Yeah, so if we were to like pay attention to his right foot and be able to see through time in relationship to that space, he's not traveling too far away from it. Whereas Tori, if we go back to that same frame where I had the circle, she's going from here all the way over to here.
Yeah.
And it's by traveling less and countering away from her.
Right.
That allows that to be comfortable.
Well, and he's kind of tracking her in the sense of how wide of steps that she's choosing to take. And so he's just following, even though he is leading her hand.
Yeah.
But he's really just leading like that rotation more than anything.
Yeah. Like right here, it's very interesting. So he catches the connection because he just came down, because you have neutral connection coming out of a turn like this, so you don't hurt a follow's shoulder. And then he's catching her rotational energy with a lateral connection. So the outside of her hand is running into his palm. And he's only sending the hand that far. It's like not going anywhere. It's really obvious with the circle on the screen. But notice her right foot. She's in the one choosing to make this movement large.
Yeah.
And so he's not actually moving the hand that far. So right here, we can extrapolate that the hand is probably right around here. And he's just moving it in very distinct yet gentle figure eight motions. And she's the one choosing to make it large by how in or out of her shoulder she rotates.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of something that Tori tends to do, is she tends to take larger steps to create more momentum. So him being her partner, I'm sure he knew that. And, you know, you can predict it, but at the same time, he's still just going with what she's doing.
Well, how are we doing in the chat? Any questions from people?
No questions.
Nope. Cool. All right, let's see. And then was this section. Oh yeah, so we've already talked about this section a little bit. And so it starts with some shag, and then it catches into a really strong, and this is a shag, what's the word I'm looking for?
Pattern?
Double compression? No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Double resistance.
Yeah, anyways, my brain just like farted so hard. But anyways, double resistance, that's what I'm looking for. So this is technically a shag pattern form of double resistance, but it works in West Coast Swing too. So you can notice why it's wonky. Notice how they're actually in opposite rolled feet right now. So Tori's left foot is forward while Maxime's right foot is forward. But they still have, all right, this is backwards, that center counterpoint they're using to catch and release energy. So I'll back up to the beginning of it, and then you can talk about it. All
Yeah.
What
So
did you want to say?
let's see. I think mainly, and I said this earlier, but you can really see that they're keeping that center counterpoint, but also like Maxime is moving ever so slightly ahead of her to pull in, but he's not necessarily pulling her towards him. He's pulling himself up into his own arm. And
Yeah. Yeah, and this the technique behind this particular double resistance is it doesn't go into compression in the center. It's
Right.
a genuine release of energy, and there's no compression here. It may look like there is, and in West Coast swing double resistance there is compression, but in the shag pattern there isn't. It's hard to learn, but it is so satisfying once you get the hang of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to talk about in that.
Cool. So I'll try to point it out more. So you can see how, like right here, I'm going to step forward in time. Tori's hips start coming back forward, whereas Maxime's whole body is coming towards the connection. And so Tori's doing a roll up, and then they move back together. But you can tell that he's leading it because he is slightly ahead of her in time.
Mm-hmm.
How's the chat doing?
It's good. There's no questions. You guys can ask questions if you have any.
Yeah. And if you have no idea how to type out your question, just unmute yourself and speak.
Did we have anything else we wanted to talk about for that video? I think that was the main thing.
I don't think so.
Shall we move on?
Yeah. So here. Yeah, I'm going to share in the chat the next video. So this is Parker Dearborn and Melissa Roots. And for those of you who are joining late, oh, thank you. We thought that was a really nice note. I'm going to try that the next time I can touch another human being on a social dance floor. Who knows how long that'll be. But yeah, having the hand over top as a leader for those Lindy swivels is kind of revolutionary. Love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so since I am unable to project sound into the ether right now, apparently, please go to the link I just shared and watch Melissa and Parker, and then come back when you're done and we'll talk about that video. Let's see, I will get it playing on my end muted so we know when it's over.
Yeah, when you guys come back to the chat, just like
let us know.
Yeah, say that you're done or something.
Yes. You can even be creepy, be like, I'm back. I'm a dork, if none of you knew. Now you know. The secret's out. All right. It's finished on my end. Hello. None. but creepy. It's okay. I'll be creepy for all of us. I'm torn. Do I want to take that back? I don't want to.
You know, you already said it, so.
I'm owning up to the badness of that joke. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the magic of sharing my screen. This one, share. All right, hi, cool. Alicia, can you see my Parker and Melissa again? Was that a yes?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right. Again, as usual, if you have burning questions or insights or comments or more bad jokes to share in the chat before Alicia and I dive into this video, please do so. Otherwise, I'm going to queue up the first section we wanted to talk about. Alrighty, anything in the chat, or shall we proceed?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, cool. All right, so the first section we wanted to talk about was this closed position dancing at the very beginning of the video that is just so good. Particularly, so if we go from the very beginning, and I apologize because the playback over presenting my screen and streaming is complete potato, and so I'm just going to step through it slowly. So hopefully you're seeing all of it.
Yeah, I think we are.
Because they kind of just groove together for a little bit. That is whoever filmed this having a potato camera. Okay. Because they're just grooving.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take a weight transfer together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beginning of setting up an anchor.
Yeah. What I did want to mention is that Melissa's taking her weight change like with her foot at an angle inwards so that she's not just like flat against him. And so
yeah, it's actually
a little extra connection.
Yeah, it's kind of like a low-key Elvis dig.
It is.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Because that's how her left shoulder is able to stay back into the connection of his hand. Mm-hmm. And then right here, she delays, like she's still connected into his hand,
mm-hmm.
but she delays the way she steps onto her left foot to actually increase the connection into his hand.
Yeah.
And you can see how he is using that. Because so he places his right foot here. He's placed his right foot on the ground, and he's now able to push off of it. And you can see him lilting to his left. So if we were to be a viewer over in this area of the screen, we would be able to see that his body
is at an angle.
He's hitched into his right. He's hitched at an angle. So, and that's how he's able to lead. And she hangs out in there for a while.
Yeah.
And then we finally get. This is how good closed position can be, people. Do you see how good of a time she's having? I love closed position. Anyways, public service announcement over.
Position and like shaping into different things.
Yep. All right. So now the initial grooving and connecting is over, and Parker has decided to lead a pattern. So we have a send out that stays in closed position, and it's amazing because you can tell, and I put up the little rectangle earlier, so you can see how the distance between them is not actually closing. It's actually getting a little bit larger.
Yeah. She's staying so back into his hand and letting him move her forward rather than just kind of rebounding out of it and moving on her own.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that she's at that like back angle when she comes more towards us.
Yeah, like right here. Her which tool do I have open? We'll use the circle. This foot is very far out ahead of her center.
Yeah.
And she's delaying that weight transfer.
Mm-hmm. And you can see like right there how far back her head is past her like feet.
Yep. All right. I can do it. Shift, click. Drag. Yes. Okay. And she never really gets fully over.
She doesn't.
That left foot. She stays back the whole time, which allows for the speed of this weight transfer right here onto her right foot. That's how she's able to do a kickback. Because she basically put her right foot underneath her.
Yeah.
And then right here, because she's hanging back in the connection, she is able to follow this big step back.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. So she is letting him dictate how far back she's moving, even though it looks like it's not. But she's staying, forward so much, but she's letting that back foot be free until he's done placing that foot.
They're right there.
Yeah. And so she's just really staying back into his arm to figure out how far he's wanting to move.
Yep. It's like right here, you can watch Parker's right foot, how it's slowing in. And this frame where he's committed weight to it.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't commit weight to her left foot until the split second after.
Yeah.
How's the peanut gallery doing? Any questions in the comments?
Nope.
Cool. All right. Onward to the next section. Unless, was there anything else you wanted to talk about that?
Good.
All right, cool. Next section that we had prepared. Woohoo. Now, this feels very similar to those swivels we saw Maxime and Tori do. However, he's just posting for her. And she's the one driving this entire situation. So you let me know when you want me to stop.
Yeah. So right here as she's placing her foot back behind her, she's taking it so far back that he can see she's going to be shifting already. So he knows that there's going to be movement, even if he doesn't know how much movement she's going to do. So he's paying attention to the fact that, okay, I need to figure out where she's going and match it.
And she's also very leveraged.
Yeah.
So what you can see is he's very much posting for her. And then he's prepared to take a normal anchor at this point. However, because Melissa is choosing to move, this is the whole it's better to not hang up the phone metaphor that I mentioned earlier, because she's staying on the line and then using that connection and increasing the tension so we can get physics magic. Like, where does the next line come up? Right there. So if we look at Parker's center, he's not over his standing foot at all. And his right foot, he was actually able to pick it up because there's so much leverage in the connection. He is only able to pick up this foot because of how leveraged Melissa is. She is counterbalancing him. And then it's when he steps onto it, he's like, okay, this is where we're going. So this is him following his follow. Like that question earlier, where it's like, oh, she's playing. What do I do? How do I stay connected? How do I lead when she's done?
Right.
He's noticing that new tool, she's going that way. So he decides to step in that direction to facilitate it. But he's still in leverage.
Yeah.
He's not dissolving the tension and the connection to do that. He's still countering her. But he's helping drive. He basically helped turn this pattern into a pass. She was styling, and he helped turn it into a pass.
Right.
And then he's still countering her right here. So see how they're both moving away from each other? And that's what allows him to catch her and create this really cool moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's telling her, okay, let's do something else now.
Yep. So in my mind, when I'm leading, a standard anchor is when you're capturing a follow on their left foot away from you, and you're bringing the follows right foot towards you. So you want to create some sort of stopping energy and then redirect it, which is what Parker does. However, because he also knows he's dancing with Melissa, is right here. He doesn't even necessarily give her that much space. You can see the hand is maybe moving towards her, like
Yeah, a little bit.
half an inch, like just a little bit. So it's less about him giving her space.
Yeah.
He's maintaining the connection and instead giving her time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what allows her to make this choice. Oh, no, give me this circle back. This choice where she steps forward slightly onto her right to create this really cool, almost moonwalking back hook, and then pivot.
Yeah.
It's because he is maintaining connection and just giving her time to resolve it on her own. All right. All right, everybody listening. Did that make sense the way I explained it? Are there any questions on that? Because I feel like that's a really helpful thing to think about, especially in relation to that question I answered earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody typing, or is it crickets?
Crickets. It's also 8:04. Crickets. How much more do we want to do?
All right, cool. Let's maybe go till 8:15 since we had some like tech hiccups.
Sounds good.
Is that cool with you? All right. And I don't know if anybody needs to go to hop on to Michelle Crozier's Do Your Own Swing live stream, if you're a part of her community. And if you need to do that, feel free to head out. So yeah, onward from here. I love this moment so much.
I know.
So great. And like right here, like, all right, I can do it. Shift, click, drag. No, it failed me. Shift, click, drag. Another moment where you can see how leveraged their connection is. And it's only because of the connection.
Yeah.
That's allowing her to defy physics like that. And now I have defying gravity stuck in my head.
Thanks for joining.
Everyone join me. Yes, thank you, whoever you are, because I can't see you because I'm sharing my screen. All right, cool. All right, onward. I'm just gonna let it play.
A little bit further on, there is they do that little redirect side to side.
How did I go right there? Anyways, that's what you're talking about.
I really wanted to talk about
watching hair in reverse is really satisfying. Right. What do you want to
I wanted to talk about how Melissa styled this and actually how Parker styled it too. Because, you can,
cool. We'll go back to the beginning.
You most frequently see that redirection where you're both facing the same direction and, there's not too much happening, but she's actually adding a couple extra like steps in the middle of it, like a chassé type of thing. And Parker is actually rotating in like that open position.
Yeah.
And I think he's using that to kind of send her back because she's in quite a like leveraged position there actually, in terms of being over her feet, like she wasn't at all.
Yep. Like right here, like she started to shift towards her right foot because if she didn't, she would fall. But like she's not actually over her standing foot at this point in time.
Right.
Most of her body mass is to the left of her foot. Yeah, I hadn't noticed that about Parker before. That's a really interesting way as a leader. So he's doing forward checks.
Yeah. And I like that angle that they both have.
Thing with your partner. I actually want to talk about this moment right here.
Okay.
The way Parker is leading her one into the next pattern. So if we pay attention again to the hands, maybe. So she's on her right foot. She places her left. Don't get too distracted by her hair. Part of me misses having long hair. Another part of me is like, never again. All right. So if we're looking at the center counterpoint of the hand right here, and I realize we're not at a perfect perpendicular angle to their partnership. So that makes us an imperfect example. But I want you to notice how Parker is not, his hand is not going this direction to lead that one. It's actually going, in reality, more towards the back of the room.
Yeah.
So like it's going towards, where's my circle? It's like going towards the sign, the sign over here. It's not going towards her because it's really important when leading this kind of one to still be in tension. So you can actually lead the two.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of leaders bring this hand back, where's my arrow again, in this direction, towards the follow's left shoulder, releasing the tension and pushing into compression.
And I think that's why frequently you'll see the follows come out of that, like, that stretch that they have, because she's, kind of at an angle almost. Not, a ton, but she has a little bit of that angle back. And she's staying there on that too, because of the tension that he's creating and keeping. You'll see the follows a lot of times. They'll be back in that little angle on the one. And then when they come forward on the two, they're up over themselves and they are moving themselves rather than being led.
Yep. All right, so we're coming up on our 8:15. Are there any last minute questions before we wrap it up for the evening? I'm sorry we weren't able to get through this whole video, but if people are enjoying this video of Parker and Melissa, we can revisit it and talk about the rest of it on our next session, whenever that might be, either next week or the week after. Yeah, are there any last minute questions? Oh, wait. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, we thought this would be a really interesting thing because I know personally, and if other people feel the same way, please let us know, because if this is valuable, we want to keep doing this. But having the frame by frame breakdown and actually being able to see like lines on the screen so students can know what we as teachers are seeing is really helpful. Because I know usually in my own dancing, if I come up against a block and I'm struggling to learn something, usually it's because I can't see what my teacher sees in order to be able to see what I need to do instead. And it's about training your eye. And so that's why we thought this format would be really helpful. So yeah.
Yeah, I like Selena's
All right.
suggestion.
What was the suggestion? All right, here we go.
Pick a similar pattern done by different couples. I'm looking at
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we can totally do that.
Yeah.
Since this was the first time, we weren't sure how granular to get because we didn't really know what people would be interested in. Alicia and I were joking how we could spend the entire hour on the Parker and Melissa send out. So I know, it's like, so good. Can we just watch it over and over and over again? But yeah, cool. So if you enjoyed this, please let everyone you know about it. Have them like our page, Nerdy West Coast Swing, and we'll share. If we decide to share this recording, it'll go up on that page. And that's where you'll find out when we're having the next one. And if any of you know that you're going to be interested in the future having like personalized feedback on your own videos from Alicia and I, let us know, because we're going to start a list of people to inform once we have a structured weekly online class together. So feel free to just direct message either one of us.
Yeah.
Or I think you can actually direct message our page.
I think so.
Technology. But yeah, so feel free to stick around while Alicia and I say goodbye to each other, or you can leave. It's up to you.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yes, thank you so much.
Questions that you didn't, bring up in the chat, feel free to message us individually.
Yes. Yeah, feel free to message us. Yeah, this is only the beginning, and thank you for sticking with us through the technical shenanigans. Yeah. We might try Zoom instead next week, or the next time we do this. So
try and figure it out.
We will find the best way to do this, we promise. Cool. All right. Good night, everyone.
Yeah.